Lecture 10, Agile Project Management version 2.0. In lecture 10, we would cover the subject of risk management. Now, the main motivation for project risk management is to ensure a successful project outcome and to reap greater benefits by having the confidence that you can manage the risks associated with more creative solutions. Now, some key benefits are enabling improved decision-making for this project, supporting improved decision-making for future projects and for programs and portfolios, demonstrating and encouraging control and responsibility, supporting governance and decision-making for larger or more complex enterprises, and improving predictability and increasing confidence are some of the benefits of risk management. Now, on this particular slide, we have a definition of what a project risk is. A project risk is exposure of stakeholders to the consequences of variations in outcomes. And we've got an interesting diagram on this slide on the right side. Risk management is all about identifying risks, assessing the severity in terms of prioritizing and ranking them, and then providing appropriate mitigation plans. It's an ongoing activity, and we constantly monitor and manage risks. Now, when running a project, two major risk areas should be considered. Number one, risk to achieve the project objectives. It addresses these components according to existing risk management best practice. So that's one of the key areas that should be considered. We got to look into risk to achieving project objectives. The second thing is risk related to the approach chosen. Now, the approach that we have chosen is the DSDM approach. The key areas of DSDM, which greatly assist reducing the risk of an unsuccessful DSDM project, are assessing, monitoring, and managing the instrumental success factors, also called as ISFs, the PAC, the project approach questionnaire, and adherence to principles. Now, it's important to look into some key areas of risk for DSDM. Now, on this particular slide, we have some key areas laid out for you. In the foundation phase, we make sure that risks are reassessed as the project team work towards using these tools to reduce the risk which threaten the success of the DSDM project. And the key areas include, number one, the level of business involvement and commitment. That's one area to look into. Number two, the team skills, ability, and availability. And the third one is clarity of vision without defining detail too early. And finally, maintaining focus on delivering on time by varying the features. Now, although there is a strong focus on identifying the risks and what to do about them during feasibility and foundation, it is critical the risks are managed throughout the project. New risks are likely to arise, and those already identified may change. And in the key tools mentioned above, which is the instrumental success factors, the PAQ, and the principles, the prompters point towards aspects of the project which can change rapidly and need to be managed carefully. Now, once a DSDM project moves into the evolutionary development, DSDM naturally allows a cadence of risk management activities within its structure because best practice recommends a consideration of risk for each specific time box as part of the time box kickoff. At this point, identification of new risks will trigger the risk management process. There's also an opportunity to reassess the severity of risk previously identified and where necessary to refine plan countermeasures. Now, there is often a perception that risk management is solely the responsibility of the project manager. However, while the PM is accountable for maximum effectiveness of risk management, individual risks will have named owners, often people performing roles at the project level. All members of the solution development team on a project should be aware of currently identified risks and plans to mitigate them, and also to be alert to new risks, bringing them to the attention of the project manager as appropriate. So we've kind of laid out some of those ideas for you on this particular slide in terms of the who. So please keep in mind the project manager is ultimately accountable for effective risk management and ensuring all risk have owners, whereas the solution development team should be aware of risks and mitigation and alert the PM of any new risk. And the business roles, i.e. the sponsor and visionary, they own the risk of project not delivering, and they are kept informed about key risks and where appropriate own risks that they are best placed to resolve. Now, it's important that we kind of assess risks to the DSDM throughout the life cycle of the project. During the feasibility phase, we collaboratively complete the initial project assessment questionnaire and put in place actions to remove or reduce or mitigate these risks. And at the end of the foundation phase, we collaboratively reassess the project assessment questionnaire, and we use these results to drive appropriate tailoring of DSDM. And we conduct risk analysis workshops early in the project and, if appropriate, at the beginning of the time box. Now, we've got some interesting tips for risk management on this particular slide. Let me just take you through some of the tips that are laid out for you on this particular slide. If you remember, the other part of the foundation course, we looked into an artifact or a document called a project approach questionnaire. So use a PAC, a project assessment questionnaire, to identify risk to the DSDM process. So that's a good starting point. The second tip is ensure that the project assessment questionnaire is completed collaboratively as a minimum with the business visionary and the technical coordinator. It's another important tip. The third one, ensure the answers given are realistic and not overly optimistic or pessimistic. And the fourth one is to monitor behaviors to ensure they are in accordance with the DSDM principles. Breaking any of the principles poses significant risk to the success of a DSDM project. The other one is ensure that the whole team is aware of the key risks and make them visible, perhaps on the team wall. And in DSDM, risks affect everyone and should not just be seen as a project manager's concern. Another tip is at the time box kickoff meeting, highlight any risks that are particularly relevant to this time box and consider handing ownership of the relevant risk to the team leader for the duration of the time box. Last but one tip is to encourage the solution development teams to consider risks at planning and review sessions. And finally, at the end of time box, maybe formally in the time box closeout session, consider taking ownership of new and outstanding risks back to the project level roles.